So David Price knocks out Sam Sexton in the 4th round. What can I say, man? Very impressive, very impressive. Like most people, I'd hoped to see a bit more from Sam Sexton in this fight. Pretty much everyone expected David Price to win. I don't think I saw anyone who thought Sam Sexton would win, apart from Derek Chisora's trainer, by the way. Derek Chisora's trainer actually picked Sam Sexton to win this fight. But apart from him, pretty much everyone, unanimously was saying that David Price is going to win this, me included. But I'd hoped that Sexton would have made more of a fight of it. Like I said, you get me? Because he really didn't throw any punches. I mean, I don't think he threw any punches in the 1st round, threw very few in the 2nd round. And he let David Price get a foothold in the fight. Didn't rattle him, didn't put him under any pressure. And David Price just did whatever he wanted in there. You can't fault David Price because it was literally a punch-perfect performance from David Price. He marched straight out at the opening bell. He was walking Sexton down. He was sticking a very hard jab at him. And, maybe Sexton was just intimidated. Sexton was circling around, trying some David Hay type tactics where he was going to circle around and then try and jump in, see an opportunity, wait for a mistake and then jump in. That's what he was looking for. But the opportunities never came. Price kept it simple, kept a jab out there, just kept walking him down. And, Sexton was waiting and waiting and waiting, but nothing came. And it seemed like he was just too intimidated by Price's power to take any risks, to gamble. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, he ended up getting himself knocked out in the 4th round and knocked out pretty badly. So, in retrospect, he really should have gambled. You know what I mean? He really should have gambled. But either way, I don't think it really matters that much. We all know for certain now that Price is by far superior to a guy like Sam Sexton. I mean, most of us, suspected that anyway. But now you have concrete confirmation. He's just completely in a different league to guys like Sam Sexton. Completely different league. And he wasn't put under any pressure by Sexton, like I said. So we didn't learn anything about Price's chin. We didn't learn anything about his heart or his, confidence under pressure. We learned nothing about that. But what we do know is that the guy hits a hell of a lot harder than Derek Chisora. Yeah, I mean, most of us thought that anyway. But now we can have a measuring stick for David Price in Sam Sexton. You understand? Like we can now compare how Chisora did against Sexton to how Price did against Sexton. You understand? And as you see there, Price's punches had a much more devastating effect on Sam Sexton than Chisora's punches. You get me? So obviously, Price hits a hell of a lot harder than Derek Chisora. And the thing about Price as well, which impressed me, is that he don't have to he don't really have to set himself to get power into the shots. He's so big and so naturally heavy-handed that he just throws the punches out there and they're devastating. You understand? Like, he wasn't even really trying to punch that hard. He was just letting the shots go naturally and they had natural power behind him. That's the thing that impressed me. And, he may well be one of the hardest punches in the heavyweight division. When I say one of the hardest, I'm talking about the top 3 punches in the heavyweight division next to Vladimir Klitschko and David Hay, who I believe are the other 2 biggest punches in the heavyweight division right now. You might want to throw Hellenius in there, I don't know, but he's definitely, top 5, top 3 in terms of his punching power, for me anyway, in my opinion, you get me? Because like I said, we've got now a yardstick to measure him against in Sexton. Sexton's only been down once in his career before this. I know he's had a short career, but, he's fought Derek Chisora and Derek Chisora's fought at world level. Even though Chisora's never been a big puncher or anything, he's got decent, respectable power. He shook up Tyson Fury a little bit in there. And he's a strong guy, obviously. But yeah, anyway, let me not just go on forever about nothing. It was impressive from David Price. Where does he go from here? Me, personally, I'd like to see them move him to European level right away. Derek Chisora at the moment is going to fight David Hay. And both of those guys are looking at world level fights after that. The winner anyway is looking for a world level fight after that. So I'd personally like to see him fight David Hay or possibly fight a loser, especially if Hay beats Chisora and beats him, pretty convincingly, then maybe Price could fight Chisora and then move on to European level. Or Me personally, I just prefer to see him move on to European level right away. I'd like to see him in there in his next fight with a guy like Hellenius or Tyson Fury or even Dimitrenko. You know, Dimitrenko's coming off a loss. I'm not sure whether he'd want to take on a guy like Price in his next fight. Dimitrenko's never seemed like the most confident guy himself. So I'm not sure if he'd want to take on Price, especially since Price is knocking everyone out. But, you know, we'll see. But me personally, I think he's ready to move on to European level because European level is not that strong at the moment. The only thing is that Price and Hellenius do have history. They boxed each other as amateurs and Hellenius won, apparently. I know amateurs are a lot different from pros. Price has definitely improved a lot since the amateurs. But yeah, man, they do have some type of history there. So I don't know how, you know, Price would cope. I think he would cope okay, but again, that's a kind of mental test. It's kind of a mental barrier to overcome for David Price. You know, it would be a good thing for him to beat a guy like Hellenius, given the fact that Hellenius beat him in the amateurs. You understand? It would strengthen his confidence in himself. He would say, okay, I'm beating guys who have beaten me in the past. That just shows me how much I've improved. You understand what I'm saying? So I think it would be a good fight for him to fight a guy like Hellenius, man, and beat him. And I think he'd beat Hellenius. I don't think Hellenius boxes well from long range these days. I know he's tough and everything and he hits pretty hard himself. But if Price boxed careful and clever in that fight, I think he'd have the beating of Hellenius. So, yeah, I was impressed with Price. Although we didn't, you know, Sam Sexton wasn't good enough to ask any questions of David Price, you know, about his chin or his heart or his resolve or anything like that. But, you know, that's because David Price was, like I said, just many leagues above him. So, you know, you can't really complain about anything David Price did. It was a punch-perfect performance, more or less. And onwards he goes, man. So, yeah, let me know what you lot think about the fight. Where do you think Price should go from here? Who do you think he should fight next? I know Dwyer thinks that he should fight Klitschko's in his next fight. Fight Klitschko in his next fight. You know, all I can say about that is David Price should be thankful that Dwyer is not his manager. Come on, man. You can't put a guy who's only had 13 fights, right? The guy's never been 10 rounds. He's never been 12 rounds. He's only had 13 fights and you want to stick him in with a Klitschko next? It don't make no sense. What's the rush? I mean, me, I've you know, been a little bit of a critic of the way David Price's career has been handled. I think that he's been moved a bit too slowly, but I thought, you know, maybe he's been moved a bit too slowly because his confidence is not yet there. But, you know, so I'm all for taking him up, you know, a couple of levels in competition. But a Klitschko in his 13th fight, I mean, Derek Chisora fought a Klitschko in his 15th or 16th fight and people were complaining. Now they want Price to fight him in his 13th fight? Come on, man, it's too soon. What's the rush? You know, Dwyer was saying, yeah, but the Klitschkos might retire, you know, by the time David Price is ready. So what? Let them retire. What's the problem with them retiring? That means the heavyweight division is even easier. The heavyweight title is even easier to win if there's no Klitschkos around. So what's the problem? You get me? Obviously, you know, it'd be interesting to see him against the Klitschkos because the Klitschkos are the dominant forces in the heavyweight division at the moment. And once they go, it's going to be a bit of a free-for-all in the heavyweight division. There probably won't be a dominant heavyweight around for a while again. So obviously people want to see, out of curiosity, how a young fighter like David Price, who has so much size and ability, would do against the Klitschkos. But in terms of his own career, obviously it would be a nice scalp for him to beat a Klitschko at this stage. But then again, they would just say, well, the Klitschkos were over the hill anyway. He didn't beat a prime Klitschko. They're going to say that about him anyway. You understand? Especially if he fights Vitali. They're going to say he beat an over-the-hill champion. So, you know, I don't think there's any rush. I think that European level next. And I'd like to see him take on maybe 2 or 3 guys at European level. And then maybe take on a Povetkin. You know, why not go that route? You understand? Why not go the route of taking on, you know, I mean, if Povetkin beats Rackman and then fights the winner of Chisora, why not go that route? Why not fight that guy and then go for a Klitschko? You know what I mean? Like, because I think, you know, the David Haye thing, if David Haye beats Chisora, I'd be more worried about putting Price in with Haye than I would about would putting Price in with Chisora. I think he'd handle Chisora a lot easier than he'd handle David Haye. I just think because of the fact that him and David Haye have sparred together, and from what I've heard about it, David Haye was getting the better of the sparring. Price held his own, you know what I mean? But he was hurt apparently a few times in sparring against David Haye. And, you know, that type of psychological situation, you know, can get to you in there. You know what I mean? So is he mentally ready? Has he got the confidence mentally to go in there and, you know, fight a guy like David Haye, who was basically a mentor to him early in his career? You know what I mean? He was signed to Haymaker Promotions when he first turned professional. You know what I mean? He was under David Haye's wing. You know what I mean? So he was kind of looking up to David Haye in a certain sense. Obviously not physically, but mentally he was looking up to David Haye. So is he ready yet mentally to take on, you know, his former master in David Haye? You know what I mean? We will see. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that a Klitschko fight next is the right way to go. I just don't see why you're rushing him that quickly to get in a Klitschko. I mean, the way I was saying, yeah, what if he fights a guy like, you know, Ty Fields or Michael Grant and gets hit and hurt and, you know, knocked out, and then he will never get the Klitschko shot. Yeah, I understand that, but you could just feed him, you know, 5 or 10 bums for the next few fights and at least build up his profile a bit more in the UK and make a potential Klitschko fight better. You don't have to put him in with anyone dangerous. If you just want to, you know, make as much money out of him as you possibly can, or you want him to capitalize on, you know, his opportunity to make money against the Klitschkos, then why put him in the next fight? Why not build the fight up? Put him in against some, you know, has-been champions, people that are no longer dangerous. Let him have, you know, 18, 20 fights, and then put him in with the Klitschkos. Even if he's taken no risks, he will be in no worse position than he is now, technically, right? And he will be in a much better financial position to fight the Klitschkos. You get me? He'll get more money from it. The fight will be bigger. You know what I mean? So I don't see any reason why he should fight the Klitschkos in his next fight. I just don't think that's logical at all. But yeah, man. Anyway, this video has gone on long enough, man. Let me stop waffling on. So yeah, that's my thoughts on David Price against Sam Sexton and where David Price should go from now. I think that you know, European level is next, in my opinion. So yeah, let me know what you lot think in the comment section below. This is Hatman. I'm out.